Hi everybody and welcome today. Today our webinar is going on during the final conference of our beloved Chebec project. So welcome everybody. Today we are talking about something difficult to figure out if you're not really inside the EU programs, because we used to think about Creative Europe program, Horizon 2020 program, Erasmus Plus program for our sector. Funds to be exploited, and we've been in depth into those programs during the last weeks. But today we are going to explore other programs than the natural cultural ones. Again, with Alessia Rebeggiani, we are going to explore in particularly COSME, Horizon 2020, and some other no-sector specific programs. We thanks again the Municipality of Bologna, incredible project, to have thought about this series of webinar about European funding. And we are BAM Strategie Culturali. I'm Rosanna, and with me there's Massimo, available for any technical issues for you and questions and so on. And this series of webinars is organized also with Melteam Pro, and today we are with InEuropa organization and with Alessia Rebeggiani particularly. We already finished for some week the framework part of webinars. We are now into the last week of webinars. On Thursday there will be the last webinar with some case studies about non-strictly sectorial programs. And we are going to have a final roundtable about the next 7 years programming of European funds, but we have not established yet the date, but we will sure we are updating you about this. You will for sure receive information during next days. You can ask, as always, questions and make comments whenever using Q&A or chat section. We will read all your questions, we will collect them, or we will even answer immediately if we think it's useful to continue with the webinar, with the lesson. And as usual, the video recording will be available in a few hours, let's say a few hours, yes, on the YouTube channel of the Municipality of Bologna in a specific playlist in which you will find out all the previous webinar about European funding and the Chebec project. So have a nice webinar, and see you later with questions and so on. Please, Alessia, start with the lesson, and thank you to be with us today.
Thank you too. Thank you to Rosanna and to the whole Chebec project for inviting us again. I'm going to share my screen now, if you agree. Okay, let me know if this works fine. Just one sec. So yes, as Rosanna said already, I'm going to introduce myself quickly. My name is Alessia Rebeggiani, and I work for InEuropa. InEuropa is a consultancy company based in Modena. Sorry, I have a problem here. Yeah. It's a consultancy company based in Modena, focusing on European funding programs, meaning that we provide technical assistance to virtually any kind of organization who wants to apply to European funding in any field. So we act as facilitators of the process of identifying a project idea, identifying a suitable call for proposals, and then applying for a European grant. And in case the project is approved, we also often support the organization in managing the grant and coordinate the project activities. As I said, we work in any field, but as you can see from this chart, which is in Italian, but I think it is also kind of easy to understand. This is the breakdown of the approved projects since 2007, when InEuropa was founded. And as you can see, mainly we work in the field of education and training, culture, social issues, and school and youth, but also on environment and sustainability, because InEuropa is member of GAP, Global Action Plan International, which is an organization working worldwide to promote sustainable behavior change, so changing habits towards a more sustainable society. And this is the breakdown of the projects according to European programs. So again, you can see that mainly we work with Erasmus+, European Territorial Cooperation, and Creative Europe. But yeah, we deal with any type of funding program according to what is relevant for our clients. Also, apart from technical assistance to client, InEuropa runs its own project as a coordinator or as a partner, mainly Erasmus+ projects. This is to introduce my company. Regarding the program of today, I'm going to start with introducing you to the context of European programs, because I am aware that European programs are a very complex world, meaning that for a person who is not familiar with it, it may be very difficult to get orientated. I must say that we already participated, we already ran a webinar 1 month ago, and so if any of the participants already attended the first webinar, maybe you will find this introductory part repeated, but I think it is useful to make this introduction in any case. And then we will go forward by talking about some programs. As Rosanna said in her introduction, we will see COSME program, Horizon 2020, European Territorial Cooperation program, and also rights, equality, and citizenship programs. These are all programs that are not specific for culture and creativity, but nevertheless, they include possibilities for cultural organizations to participate with their projects. So we will see how. Talking about European programs, first of all, I have to make a very important remark, because European programs are planned 7 years by 7 years. So they are a multi-annual intervention lasting 7 years. We are currently in a transition period, in a very particular moment, because the current programming period is coming to an end. It ran from 2014 to 2020, and we are currently waiting for the new programming period to start, which will start next year and will last until 2027. This means that the most part of the European programs at the moment have closed all their calls for proposals. So they do not foresee any open call anymore. And we must wait for the next programs to be approved. This will be done in the upcoming months. At the moment, we only have the draft program. We have draft regulations, but first we must wait for the approval of the long-term European budget from 2021 to 2027. According to the overall European budget that will be approved, then we will have the official breakdown into each single new European program, and then we will know about the future calls for proposals. Having said this, when we talk about European funding programs, we must make a first big distinction between indirect funds and direct funds. The distinction relates to who, so which entity actually manages the European resources. In the case of indirect funds, so the first case, the managing authority is not the European Commission in the first place at a central level, but it is an intermediary, which can be a ministry, a national authority like a ministry, or a regional authority, or other types of secretariats that we will see. Whilst in the case of direct funds, the programs are managed directly by the European Commission or by its executive agencies. Let's see first the indirect funds. So indirect funds are the so-called structural funds. The structural funds are those programs that implement the cohesion policy. And they pursue two objectives. The first objective is investments for growth and employment. And this objective is supported by three funds: European Regional Development, European Social Fund, and Cohesion Fund. The aim of these funds is to achieve a balanced development across Europe, both from the economic point of view and from the social point of view. So Europe, the European Union, has been divided into regions, developed regions, in transition regions, and less developed regions. And the money coming from these three structural funds are allocated to each territory according to the specific priority and the specific needs of that specific region. So it is up to the member states to draft their own plans to allocate these resources. They come up with a plan that has to be approved by the European Commission to allocate the money, and the money will be managed by either a national authority or a regional authority or other territorial entities. So this is why they are called indirect funds. This means that the calls for proposals to apply for these resources will be specific for each territory. They will not be at a European level. The second objective of the cohesion policy is European territorial cooperation, also known as Interreg. European territorial cooperation supports joint actions, exchanges, and networking among local, regional, national actors. And again, it is funded by the European Regional Development Fund, the Instrument for Pre-Accession, and the European Neighborhood Instrument. We will talk about European territorial cooperation later, so I'm not going to talk about this more. The second type of programs, so the direct funds, are also called targeted programs because they are sector specific, like for example, Creative Europe is specific for culture and creativity and the audiovisual, or LIFE program is specific for environment and climate action. And then we have Horizon 2020, which is a direct fund, but it is not sectoral because it covers research and innovation across any discipline. It is open to any type of area of intervention. And so it is not considered a targeted or sectoral program, but it is a direct fund. What does it mean to be a direct fund? If you apply for a grant, for example, for a Creative Europe grant or a Horizon 2020 grant, and your project is approved, you will have a contractual relationship directly established with the European Commission or its delegated agency. So if your project is approved under a direct fund, so a program that is directly managed by the European Commission, you will sign a grant agreement directly with the Commission. And consequently, the transfer of the money will be directly from the European Commission to you, to the coordinator of the project. And there will be no any further passage. Instead, in the case of indirect fund, the resources will come from the ministry or from the region, according to what type of program you're dealing with. Another characteristic, as I also said before, so the calls for proposals of direct funds are covering the whole territory of the European Union. So a Creative Europe call for proposal is the same for all the member states. And so the competitive selection process is central. The projects are received by the European Commission, are selected and awarded and audited by the European Commission and its delegated agencies. Another important feature is co-financing. So whenever you decide to apply for a grant in a European program, you must take into account that most probably you will receive only part. You must take into account that most probably only a part of the total cost of your projects will be covered by the European grant. This means co-financing. So normally co-financing covers from 50 to 90% with some exceptions. So this means that your organization must be able to sustain a financial effort to cover the remaining costs. The European grant is usually distributed in more than one installment. Usually there is a pre-financing. Pre-financing has the aim to allow the beneficiaries, so the coordinator of the projects and the partners, to start up the project activities with a necessary amount of resources available. And then there will be a balance payment after the end of the project and after the final report is approved by the European Commission. Last but not least, another characteristic of direct funds is that most often the projects must be transnational. So you will most probably have to involve partners from other countries, from other European member states or third countries according to the guidelines of each call for proposals. And your project must have a European added value. So you must demonstrate to the European Commission that what you will do with that project has a relevance at a European level. So if you would do that same project by yourself, it would not be the same. So partnership is a very important aspect of a European project, because you have to select partners to work with, taking into account the geographical balance and the expertise, complementarity of expertise. And all these must be shown, must be highlighted in your proposal to the European Commission. This was to give you an overview of the European funding landscape. And in this webinar, we're going to talk about first direct funds like COSME, as I said, like COSME, Horizon Europe, and Rights, Equality and Citizenship Program, but we will also have a look at European territorial cooperation. So we can start with COSME. COSME is the European program for the competitiveness of enterprises, and especially of small and medium-sized enterprises. It covers the period from 2014 to 2020, with a budget of 2.3 billion euros. It is a quite articulated program, supporting small and medium businesses in four areas: facilitating access to finance, supporting internationalization and access to markets, creating a favorable environment for competitiveness, and encouraging an entrepreneurial culture. We're going to see this quite briefly. Regarding access to finance, COSME promotes two types of financial instruments: a loan guarantee facility, which provides guarantees and counter guarantees to financial intermediaries like banks, like leasing companies, or others, in order for them to give loans and lease finance to small and medium businesses in any field. The equity facility for growth instead is an instrument providing risk capital to equity funds that invest in small and medium businesses and access to market instead. Regarding access to market, COSME has supports a set of tools. The first one is Enterprise Europe Network, which is a network of offices around 50 countries, more or less, which offer guidance to businesses regarding understanding European legislation, or funding technological partners and business partners, and accessing European financing. And then we have two portals, Your Europe Business Portal and SME Internationalization Portal. The first one is for businesses who want to develop their own business in another member state. So it's about internationalization inside the European Union. While the SME Internationalization Portal is for those businesses who want to scale up to develop business outside of the European Union. The Intellectual Property Rights, IPR, SME Help Desk instead is a help desk providing advice and guidance on intellectual property issues and standards and legislation for businesses which are dealing with intellectual property problems in specific areas of the world outside of the European Union, like in China and in Southeast Asia and in Southern America. And finally, the European-Japan Center for Industrial Cooperation is a center promoting the transfer of technology and know-how and research results and cooperation between European businesses and Japanese businesses. And then we have the other two objectives of COSME. Creating better conditions for competitiveness of small and medium-sized enterprises. This is done by improving framework conditions, so improving the conditions in which the European businesses operate by reducing administrative and regulatory burdens and making European policies more business-friendly. Supporting the emergence of competitive industries with a market potential. And this relates specifically to tourism and any type of emerging industries. And then development of world-class clusters in the European Union. So promoting cross-sectoral cooperation among clusters and cluster excellence across Europe. Finally, encourage entrepreneurship. And this is about entrepreneurship education and the development of entrepreneurship mindset for young and emerging entrepreneurs. This is done through mobility exchanges, research, best practices diffusion, and pilot projects. The program or Erasmus for Entrepreneurs, which is a mobility program, which is very interesting for young entrepreneurs, but also not young, but aspiring entrepreneurs who want to benefit from a period of from 1 to 6 months abroad in another country to work side by side with another experienced entrepreneurs to get competencies and leadership skills and knowledge on how to run a new business. And finally, COSME supports the digitization of business community, digital skills and digital leadership for, businesses. Why are we talking about COSME program now? Because inside this type of action, supporting the emergence of competitive industries with market potential, we often find calls or proposals which are targeted to cultural and creative industries, often coupled with the tourism sector. So what I'm going to do now is to show you some of the latest calls for proposals that were issued by the COSME program. I must say, as I said also before, that now we are looking at the past. So these are closed calls for proposals because, as I said, the programming period is finishing. So more or less the calls for proposals are all closed. So we will look at the past now to see what exactly has been supported by this program, to get an idea of what will be the future, so what we can expect from the future. So to get prepared and to see if we are interested in this type of program, if this program has something to offer to us. To begin with, a small advice. In order to foresee, to know in advance what kind of calls for proposals are going to be launched, we can constantly monitor the publication of the annual work programs of each program. So towards the end of the year, usually a European funding program publishes the work program for the next year. And in that work program, you will find the whole list of the calls for proposals foreseen to be published in the next year, the indicative timing, and the budget allocated. So you can start planning and you can start planning and thinking of possible project ideas that you're interested in. So speaking about the annual work program 2019, there was this call for proposals: accelerate and scale up innovation applications for a sustainable and circular fashion industry. The objective of the call was to support companies to implement sustainable and circular standards, models in production processes or services, and to facilitate transnational cooperation between companies to promote the exchange of knowledge and best practice on sustainable and circular fashion. The beneficiaries of the call were, as you can see, of many types. Small and medium-sized enterprises, startups, but also manufacturers and creators active in the fashion industry, providers of sustainable solutions, recycling centers, environmental education centers, and professional associations and public authorities. So we can say that the collaboration across different types of subjects with very different type of expertise is required. The overall budget was 3.5 million euros, and the EU contribution covered 75% of total costs for a maximum grant of 870,000 euros per project. Another interesting opportunity, which is also this is not closed. This is still running. It's the European Light Industries Innovation and Technology Project, ELITE project. This is a project that was approved and funded by the COSME program. And this project will support other projects. And this is, you will find this type of support. So projects funded by a program which are required to support other entities running their projects. So ELITE project was funded in 2018 and is currently providing support to 25 partnerships of textile, clothing, leather, and footwear industries to boost their innovation and competitiveness. In particular, ELITE funds projects of technological transfer between textile, clothing, leather, and footwear industries, small and medium-sized enterprises, and technology providers. The first call is already closed, but a second call is expected to be launched next year. And it will provide a grant of up to 70,000 euros per partnership. I have put the website for each of the program that I'm talking about so that you can see it directly. The call for proposal, tourism synergies with cultural and creative industries, is, as I said before, COSME often supports these two sectors together, tourism and culture and creativity. So this is a call of 2 years ago, supporting transnational cooperation between tourism and CCI-related businesses to develop and promote innovative and tangible tourism offers, and develop innovative services and products, or use cultural and creative content to enhance existing and new tourism experiences. So this is about grasping the potential of innovation and creativity of cultural and creative industries to create better, more attractive and more innovative tourism products. Also in this call, the beneficiaries are very much diverse, from public authorities to travel agents to non-profit sector, and of course, cultural and creative industries as well. With a budget of 2 million euros, each project could receive up to 400,000 euros, covering 75% of the total costs. And then we have a call for proposals published in 2017, titled European Incubation Network for CCIs, Fashion Tech and Tourism. This call supported 2 transnational networks of business incubators and accelerators, with a focus on small and medium businesses and startups, one in the fashion tech sector and one in the tourism sector, for innovation projects driven by cultural and creative industries. The budget was 2.6 million euros, and the co-funding rate of COSME program is more or less always 75%. This was a quick overview of the opportunities that the COSME program offered for the cultural and creative sector. It's important to anticipate what will be going on from the next year regarding COSME, because COSME will not exist anymore as we know it, but it will be incorporated into a broader program. This program will encompass 6 current programs, and will be called Single Market Competitiveness of Enterprises and European Statistics Program, more shortly Single Market Program. You will find these calls inside the Single Market Program, which will have a budget of probably around 3.7 billion euros. And as we said before, COSME currently includes non-financial instruments and financial instruments. What we want to know now is that Single Market Program will include only the non-financial instruments. So the calls that we talked about a few minutes ago will be supported by Single Market Program, while instead the financial instruments like the loan guarantee facility and the equity for growth will be instead supported by InvestEU, which will be another program that we're not going to talk about here. We are waiting for more details about the future of COSME program. So hopefully by the end of the year, we will have a more detailed prospect of the structure and the functioning of a Single Market Program. Going to Horizon 2020. As you most certainly know, Horizon 2020 is the European Framework Program for Research and Innovation. It is the biggest research and innovation program ever, with a budget of 77 billion euros for the period 2014-2020. And it is aimed at securing Europe's global competitiveness, driving economic growth and jobs creation. And it is structured into 3 pillars. The structure of Horizon 2020 is very much complex. We try to simplify it a little bit. It is divided into 3 pillars: excellent science, industrial leadership, and societal challenges. Excellent science supports excellent research. So it provides grants for frontier research by the best, the most promising research and research teams through the European Research Council, collaborative research to open new fields of innovation under the Future and Emerging Technologies measures. Marie Curie actions supports young researchers and experienced researchers, very much talented, and supports research infrastructure to ensure that research can access to infrastructures of quality across Europe and across the globe. The industrial leadership pillar encompasses also the SME instrument that we will talk about later. And finally, the societal challenge pillar is what is most interesting for us. Societal challenges under Horizon 2020 are 7, and we are interested in seeing societal challenge number 6, inclusive, innovative, and reflective societies. Societal Challenge 6 has two specific objectives. It supports social sciences and humanities research needed to understand identity and belonging across communities, regions, and nations, and supports policymakers in designing policies that foster employment, combat poverty, and prevent the development of divisions, conflict, social exclusion, discrimination, and inequalities. And it is relevant for culture because, as we will see, really very much, there are really many calls for proposals related to culture supported by this societal challenge. Before seeing that, Horizon 2020 supports different types of projects. Specifically under societal challenges, you will find most often three types of projects supported. Research and innovation actions. They are activities aimed at establishing new knowledge or to explore the feasibility of a new or improved solution. And they can include also limited activities related to demonstration and piloting. The funding rate in this case is very exceptional. It is 100%. And research and innovation actions are transnational projects. So you are supposed to be in a partnership of 3 entities from 3 different European countries or countries associated to Horizon 2020 which do not belong to the European Union, but there is a list. You must always consult the list of eligible member states to for each European program. And then innovation actions are activities aimed at producing plans or designs for new or improved products or services. They may include prototyping, testing, demonstrating, piloting, large-scale validation, and market replication. So they take research and innovation actions a step forward. The co-funding rate is decreased to 70%, except for non-profit organizations which have their costs entirely covered with a funding rate of 100%. And they are again transnational projects. And then we have coordination and support actions, which are accompanying measures such as standardization, dissemination, awareness raising, communication, networking, policy dialogues, and mutual learning exercises. These instead are mono-beneficiary projects, so they must include just one partner. And again, the funding rate is 100%. I have listed here all the calls for proposals that have been published in the last 3 years regarding culture and creativity inside the societal challenge number 6. We have again tourism, innovative approaches to urban and regional development through cultural tourism, culture beyond borders, facilitating innovation and research cooperation between European museums and heritage sites, digitization, digital single market and European culture, new challenges for creativity, intellectual property rights and copyright. And then we have collaborative approaches to cultural heritage for social cohesion, the societal value of culture and the impact of cultural policies in Europe. And we have societal challenges and the arts, inclusive and sustainable growth through cultural and creative industries and the art, cultural literacy of young generations in Europe, contemporary histories of Europe in artistic and creative practices, cultural heritage of European coastal and maritime regions, and finally, European cultural heritage, access and analysis for a richer interpretation of the past. So, as you see, culture and creativity inside Horizon 2020 is approached in a very much transversal way. It goes from culture and social inclusion, interpretation of European history and European sense of belonging. It relates to tourism. It is very much transversal. So it is interesting to take this into account to monitor the calls for proposals that will be published in the next program that you certainly know will be Horizon Europe. The link here below is the link to the funding and tender portal, which is the point of reference for all the calls for proposals of Horizon 2020 and of many other European programs. So always refer to the funding and tender opportunities portal. There is an open call, one of the last ones. However, it is a kind of difficult call because it supports just one project. So it's really a high competition call for proposals. It is always inside the Societal Challenge number 6. It is called European Museum Collaboration and Innovation Space. It supports one project that will offer the opportunity for museums to work with creative and technology partners through small experimental projects to apply digital technologies that innovate functions and processes, transform audience experience, increase their digital presence, or develop new business models for post-COVID-19 recovery. So this is the type of project that we saw before. So the program Horizon 2020 supports one project, and this one project will have to deliver 60% of its budget to museums, so to other entities, in this case museums, to implement their own projects. The budget for this project will be €1 million and covered through a 100% funding rate. The deadline is 12th of January. And here I brought a couple of examples of projects funded by the Societal Challenge 6 relating to culture, just to give you an idea of the type of activities, of objectives of the projects in this societal challenge. The first one is Project Cohere, Critical Heritage, Performing and Representing Identities in Europe. It is supported with a contribution of €2.5 million. So you see it's quite a big amount of money compared to the COSME program. We didn't say this before, but Horizon Europe usually provides for a high budget. from 1 million to even 3, 4, or 5 million euros according to the type of projects and the type of objectives. The partnership is led by UK plus 11 partners from 9 countries. And the partnership includes also 2 museums and a cultural network. The objective of the project is to explore the ways in which identities in Europe are constructed through heritage representations and performances, and identify means to spread European heritage that are likely to contribute to inclusive communitarian identities and counteract division within the European Union. And the project entails a part of research, as you can imagine, research and analysis of, in this case, of representation and performance of cultural heritage. So cultural policy, museum display, heritage interpretation, school curricula and political discourse, music and dance, food and cuisine, rituals and protest. And another project that I brought here as an example is emotive virtual cultural experiences through personalized storytelling. Again, the budget is around 2.6 million euros, led again but by the UK by chance, plus 7 partners from 9 countries. The objective here is to research, design, develop, and evaluate methods and tools that support the cultural and creative industries in creating virtual museums which draw on the power of emotive storytelling, and provide the means to authors of cultural products to create high-quality, interactive, and personalized digital stories. The project results in this case have been validated in some major cultural sites in Europe through an extensive network of cultural organizations and creative industries that expressed their interest in the project. We are done with the societal challenge 6, and we go to the SME instrument. SME instrument is under Pillar 2, Industrial Leadership of Horizon 2020. It was born as an instrument to support businesses, also young businesses, startups, small and medium-sized enterprises in any field who have breakthrough innovation solutions to propose, which have a market creating potential. So the objective is to accelerate the development of such breakthrough innovations and take these technological developments close to the market in a more rapid way through business services and accelerating services. It is important to highlight that since 2018, we are not anymore talking about SME instrument, but we're talking about Eic Accelerator Pilot. EIC stands for European Innovation Council. It is always supported by Horizon 2020, and it is a pilot because it was born like an experiment to replace the SME instrument, and this pilot will be taken further into Horizon 2020, Horizon Europe, sorry, where we will find the Eic Accelerator instrument. Eic Accelerator Pilot introduced two types of support for the businesses, grant only and blended finance. So the blended finance is a combination of a grant with an investment in equity. It is important to know also that so this main instrument, or Eic Pilot in this case, is targeted to individual small and medium businesses in any field. So it has a bottom-up approach, meaning that any type of solution is welcome in any field. There is no top-down guidance on which fields are preferred or what type of technologies or solutions are preferred. It is totally bottom-up. So any type of small and medium business can apply always. The submissions are ongoing and they are evaluated after some cutoff dates. So periodically, Horizon 2020 evaluates the submissions that were received during that period, and there are results. The results are published. The functioning of the Eic Accelerator is somehow a little bit complex. It is divided into three phases. Phase one concerns concept and feasibility assessment. So the business, the enterprise must submit an idea and concept of a business plan one. The activities covered are, for example, feasibility of concept, risk assessment, intellectual property regime, partner search, design study, and pilot application. The project supported lasts for 6 months and received a grant of 50,000 euros plus a coaching service. The enterprises that benefit from phase one may decide to participate, to apply for phase number 2. So at the end of phase one, they will have elaborated an evolution, a development of their business plan, and they may decide to apply to phase number 2. Phase number 2 concerns instead research and development, demonstration, and market replication. So the activities covered here are about development, prototyping, testing, piloting, scaling up, market replication, and research. In this case, the project can last from 1 to 2 years, and it can receive a grant of 500,000 euros to 2.5 million euros. In case of blended finance, the enterprise can also receive investment in equity up to 15 million euros. And then there is a phase number 3, which is not about receiving a grant or receiving any type of financial support, but it's about business accelerating services, mentoring and coaching, networking, matchmaking with technological partners, and possible connection to procurement. All types of business services that can help the business to be commercialized. The cutoff dates, so the deadlines to submit projects are expired. So for the time being, there is no the possibility to participate in the SME instrument anymore, and we will wait for the next programming period. Regarding, I would like to spend just a couple of words on EIT, European Institute of Innovation and Technology, which is an action, an institute supported by Horizon 2020, boosting innovation ecosystems in Europe. The European Institute of Innovation and Technology operates mainly through the so-called Knowledge and Innovation Communities, KICs. And the KICs are partnerships established based on the so-called knowledge triangle. So they include partners from research, from the research world, from the education world, and from the business world. And these communities are set up to face ambitious global challenges. So they offer training for new generation entrepreneurs. They offer development and acceleration of innovative products and services, and they support innovative startups and scale-ups. What I wanted to highlight is that starting from 2022, there will be the launch of a new knowledge and innovation community on cultural and creative industries. So it would be interesting to see what the community will offer to this type of industries regarding, as I said, training for entrepreneurship, acceleration and development, and so on. So it may be useful to have a look at this more in detail in the future. And also it's important to have a look briefly to Horizon Europe. I understood that probably you will have a whole webinar dedicated to the future of European funding, but nevertheless, I would like to just let you know where we're going. So Horizon Europe will keep more or less the same structure as Horizon 2020. So the same division into 3 pillars. Pillar 1, excellent science. Pillar 2, global challenges and European industrial competitiveness. And Pillar 3, innovative Europe. The envisaged budget, so that the proposed budget, the budget that most likely will be delivered for Horizon Europe is 75.9 billion euros from the European budget, plus 5 billion euros from the Next Generation EU program, which is the special program set up after the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic. It might sound like a high budget, but actually it is not, because initially the European Commission proposed a much higher budget, as you see, 94.4 billion euros, plus 13.5 billion from Next Generation EU. But lastly, at the last summit of the European Council in July, the decision was taken to cut this budget. So there is a very strong discussion going on regarding this cut, because actually the problem is that the European ambitions for the next decades are very much high, especially in terms of sustainability of climate targets, environmental objectives. And all this requires an effort for research and innovation, which cannot be ensured through a limited budget. So there is a discussion going on about this, but most probably the budget will be 75.9 billion euros. So coming back to our structure, we are interested into Pillar 2 and Pillar 3. Why? Because you will see that inside Pillar 3, you will find the European Innovation Council, so Eic Accelerator Pilot, Eic Accelerator, and the European Institute of Innovation and Technology that we mentioned before. And in Pillar 2, you find the so-called clusters. Clusters are simply the new name for societal challenges. So you will not talk about societal challenge anymore, but you will talk about cluster, but more or less it will be the same concept. And among the clusters, you will find a culture, creativity, and inclusive societies cluster, which of course includes also cultural heritage, and creativity. And as I said, under Pillar 3, you will find innovative European Innovation Council. So it will be the prosecution of the EIC Pilot, and it will be divided actually into two instruments, Pathfinder and Accelerator. We talked before about the Eic Accelerator, which offers grants only and blended finance for high risk, high potential, small and medium-sized innovative enterprises willing to develop and commercialize new products, services, and business models that could drive economic growth and shape new markets. So this is the definition of what the Eic Accelerator will support. This was about Horizon. And now I would like to talk a little bit about European territorial cooperation. European territorial cooperation is here, as we said before, so it is inside the category of indirect funds. Indirect funds because European territorial cooperation programs are managed by managing authorities that decide, that manage the European resources allocated to them. European territorial cooperation is one of the two objectives of the cohesion policy, as we said before, and it promotes a harmonious economic, social, and territorial development of the Union. It is supported and funded by the European Regional Development Fund, and it supports joint actions and policy exchanges between national, regional, and local actors from different member states. It is important to highlight that according to your geographical location, you will benefit from different European territorial cooperation programs. Why? It is easier to look at this map. There are three European territorial cooperation types. We have cross-border cooperation, which are programs involving cross-border regions. So usually at least 2 member states sharing their borders, and there are 60 programs currently, 60 programs of cross-border cooperation. You can see in the map. So according to where you are, where your organization is located, you will participate in different cross-border cooperation programs. And your partnership will have to be located in that specific area. And then we have transnational cooperation involving regions from several countries of the European Union forming bigger areas. Currently, there are 15 programs of transnational cooperation, but the logic is always the same. The areas are bigger, but you must refer to that specific area. So if you are located in northern Italy, you will benefit from some programs and not from others, for example. And then we have interregional cooperation, which instead covers the whole European territory. And it is represented by Interreg Europe program. We will see a little bit more in detail transnational cooperation, especially I will concentrate on 3 programs. I took as a reference the target of the Chebec project, meaning that I expected the participants to come from Southern Europe, and so I will talk about 3 programs that cover this geographical area. The first one is Interreg Med program, which involves 13 European countries from the northern shore of the Mediterranean. Not necessarily the whole country. For example, France and Spain are involved only in their southern regions. Italy instead is involved as a whole, like Slovenia, Greece, and Croatia. The co-funding rate in European territorial cooperation is usually 85% of the total costs. And Interreg Med has 4 priority axes: innovation, low carbon economy, natural and cultural resources, and governance. We are interested into priority axis number 1, innovation, because as you can see, innovation is covers 3 sectors, 3 main sectors: blue growth, green growth, and social and creative sector. So the priority of this action is to promote business investment in research and innovation, developing links and synergies between enterprises, research, and development. The types of actions are development of clusters and networks, development of models and tools, transfer of knowledge, awareness raising, and capitalization activities. And the target of these priority axes are, again, small and medium enterprises, economic operators, and structures accompanying them, public authorities, and research structures. So you may want to have a look at the cause regarding priority axis number 1, but also regarding priority axis number 3, because it concerns natural and cultural resources, in particular sustainable tourism. So in this case, there are two investment priorities: conserving, promoting, and developing cultural and natural heritage, and protecting and restoring biodiversity and soil. So one is more about environment and one is more about culture and cultural heritage. The types of action are analysis, studies, policy planning and strategy development, transfer of practices, and policy implementing measures. The targets are public authorities, associations and NGOs, research bodies, and to some extent, enterprises. So it is useful to know that under Interreg Med, you may participate according to your location. You may participate together with other partners from the Northern Mediterranean in projects that can involve also cultural and creative operators. A similar situation is going on in the Interreg Adrian program, Interreg Adriatic-Ionian, which instead covers the eastern part of the Mediterranean, so part of Italy, Croatia, Greece, Slovenia, Albania, Montenegro, Serbia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. In this case, the priority axes are similar but are not the same. We are interested in innovative and smart region and sustainable region, which include opportunities for cultural and creative industries, tourism, and cultural heritage. And the last one that I wanted to talk about is Interreg Sud-Oe, Southwest Europe, which instead covers the other part of the Mediterranean, involving Spain, Portugal, France, Gibraltar, Ceuta, Melilla, and Andorra. In this case, the priority axes are 5, but opportunities for cultural and creative industries, tourism, and cultural heritage are included in priority axis 1, research and innovation, and 5, environment and resource efficiency. You always find the website of each program. So inside that website, you will find all the details about exactly what type of projects are covered and the calls for proposals that were published, which are now closed actually. We will see, we will wait again for the next programs to be up and running. But just to give you an idea, I've read that most probably the first calls for proposals for Interreg programs will be issued in 1 year, not before. I also, completely changing the sector, I wanted also to spend a few words about the Rights, Equality and Citizenship program. It may sound as a sort of a marginal program, but it is somehow interesting as well because it is a program specifically focused on rights. It is focused on promoting the implementation of the principle of non-discrimination, prevention of racism, xenophobia, homophobia, and all forms of intolerance, prevention of violence against children and women, promotion of the rights of persons with disabilities, equality between women and men, but also the promotion of the rights deriving from the citizenship of the European Union. So it covers the rights as a whole, and I found some projects that actually involve also cultural organizations. I just wanted to let you know that it is possible, according to the criteria of the call for proposals, but it is possible to participate also in this type of project or program. For example, this project is called Pact, and it is promoted by an Italian organization with 4 partners, including 2 theater companies. The aim was to offer to professionals and organizations operating in services to victims of gender violence specific innovative methods and work tools that provide for the use of art therapy and emotional education. Among the activities we had research to integrate knowledge and practices set up by the partners, create and test final guidelines in internal workshops for partners and pilot courses for victims, and raise awareness among professionals, administrations, stakeholders, and the public through workshops, a festival on the outsider art, a docu-film, a theatrical piece taken on tour in Italy, in Portugal, and in Spain. So as you see, if you are interested in this type of social dimension, social issues, and promotion of rights and fight to inequalities, then you may have a look at Rights, Equality, and Citizenship program. The very final slide is about an open call. This is open until the 16th of November. It is promoted by Directorate General Regional and Urban Policy, so DG Regio of the European Commission. It is kind of important to know that each DG of the European Commission can launch periodical calls for proposals that are not included in the regular European programs, and you can find them in the link here below. So if you go on the website, on the official website of the European Union, ec.europa.eu, you find a list of topics. Maybe later I will show you if we have time. But just to know that each DG of the European Commission often publishes calls, and it is useful to monitor them, to be always updated, because in this case it is totally unexpected, but the DG Regio opened this call for a pilot project for the safeguard and promotion of culture in the outermost regions and the overseas countries and territories of the European Union. It is a difficult call because it will select just one project, and it will be aimed at testing a scheme to provide financial support to artists and cultural organizations through calls for projects. So the project selected will have to launch calls to select 45 projects to be supported with a maximum of 20,000 euros each. And these will be projects for the promotion of local culture and local traditions, indigenous traditions in the outermost regions and the overseas countries and territories of the EU. And finally, the project will have to elaborate recommendations for the European Commission. Eligible applicants are non-profit organizations, public authorities, international organizations, universities, educational institutions, research centers in the European Union. Overall budget 1 million. This was it. My presentation is finished. We are hopefully on time. If we have just two minutes, I can show you a couple of websites which are useful to find all the information that I have provided in this very long webinar. Let me know. We can do it.
Yes, I think we can, and then we can also write down these websites to the presentation, so the other participants that would watch the lesson online or through YouTube could reach these suggestions.
Yes, actually, yeah. Actually, the websites are already in the presentation, but we can write them down. So the first one is the funding and tender portal. The funding and tender portal was born for the Horizon Europe program, but now it is being integrated to welcome the majority of the European programs. So here you see the overview of the programs. You will find, as we said, COSME, you find Horizon 2020, you find Rights, Equality and Citizenship program somehow here. Gradually, you will find also the programs for the next 7 years. For example, if you go in COSME, you are interested in knowing what is going on around COSME. Here you find an overview of the program, but you also find the project database and the websites that provide specific information on COSME. And then you can find the calls for proposals by clicking here. You can select if you want to know about the forthcoming and open calls or also about the closed open calls. You can select, yes, again, the program here. And if you, for example, I don't know why it's not working, but maybe we start again. Yes, so here I have selected the COSME program and all the status, forthcoming, open and closed calls. You find that there are just two calls open under COSME program, Clusters Go International for all sectors and defense and security sector. And then you have the whole list of the closed calls. They are very, very many. And if you click on each call, you will find all the call documents, COSME work program, the call text, call document, guide for applicants. You will have all the details of each call for proposals. And this is for COSME, but it's also for Horizon 2020 and all the programs that you saw in the homepage. And then the other website important is the ec.europa.eu, which is the official website of the European Commission. And if you scroll down the page, you find browse by topic. You click on topics A to Z. You find a list of topics, and according to the topic you're interested in, you can click, for example, digital economy, and somewhere in the page, you will find a section dedicated to the funding in that specific sector. Here you see we have the call for proposal that we talked about before, European Museum Collaboration and Innovation Space. So you have the list of calls for proposals that are supported under the specific topic of digital economy, for example. Yeah, I just wanted to show you these two websites, but actually you find them also in the presentation, across the presentation, because yeah, I have included them. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Alessia.
Thank you.
I don't know if you have some questions for Alessia after her interesting presentation. Really wide spectrum of opportunity, different from the usual ones for the creative and cultural sector. In the meanwhile, I remind you that next webinar, and not really the last one, but the last one with the lessons, let's say, will be this Thursday with two cases. One is a beneficiary of EIC program, and the other one has a bit of projects to present you about the creativity sector in different programs. So there are no questions. Maybe I have a question because listening from your presentation, Alessia, I guess I can like sum up in few words the contribution the cultural and creative sector can give to other programs than usual ones. And maybe the two words I have in mind the most are like tools and methods, because I guess cultural and creative organization, especially if they are really small, it's hard to be like the lead partner in those kind of programs. So maybe there is more a role like I bring in the project a method or a tool, a creative tool different from the normal ones, and this is the main role.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's an interesting point. I think
about this, I don't know.
No, yeah, it's very interesting as an observation. Actually, for sure, tools and methods. I think that in the last few years, the awareness has increased in the European Union institutions that cultural and creative industries really have a potential for innovation to bring, to transfer also to other sectors, innovation and creativity, flexibility. I think that yeah, the role of cultural and creative industries inside the projects very much relate to bringing this type of expertise, of this type of approach, of this type of freshness, as we can say. So the trend now is to try to make cultural and creative industries come out of their specific sectors and contaminate other sectors to create something new, which is probably not even very much definite at the moment, but the European institutions are trying to experiment new types of collaborations with cultural and creative industries across new sectors. Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's a really good wish. And I don't know if there are any other questions. Okay, so
we have done.
Okay, maybe we finish here. Thank you again, Alessia.
Thank you.
And see you everybody on Thursday. And
Find your way.
Find your way in EU. Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.